Hi, I'm Jeremy, a sales engineer with Uplogix. Today I'm going to show you a quick tip how to provide granular authentication within your organization to Uplogix local managers and in turn managed devices. The reason you might want to do this is to segregate what types of commands certain users can have based on their skill set or based on their role in the organization. Our customers do this, like I just said, for different roles in the organization, but also they can provide vendors with access and provide them with a lower level or a subset of permissions that their internal users would have. So first you need to look at roles. The best place to do that is at the control center level, and we're going to look at the guest role. So the guest role has a few permissions here. It has basically read permissions, things like login, show alarms, show date, config password. Config password will allow them to configure their own password after they logged in. Show version, show who. Whereas another role, like the admin role, provides almost all of the available permissions within the Uplogix control center and the local managers. So what I've done is I have created two profiles for myself. One has the admin role on this local manager, and the other has the guest role. So logging into the local manager with the CLI button, I'm prompted for username and password. On this session, I'll show you with my admin role, and let me open up a parallel session, and I'll show you the guest role. So if I log in to this guest role with a different user ID, looking at the dashboard, it would appear that both users have the same permission level. It's not the case though, and you can tell if I type question mark on the session for J. Ritchie, I'm given a list of available commands. If I do the same thing on the session for Richie J, that is a subset of all of the other commands. Now going even further, so here both accounts have the port command. That allows us to navigate to a port. Let's do that on both of these sessions. Question mark at the port level gives us the available commands at that managed device level. So you can see there's a lot more permissions or commands available to the admin role than there are to the guest role. And these roles can be very granular. You can explicitly state a deny to a certain privilege in the local manager, and that overrides all of the allow permissions. So we can limit a user's access on a managed device or a local manager by applying multiple permissions. I'll show you an example here. If I look at privileges, we can look at the privileges for this local manager. Now here you'll see J. Ritchie, that's me. I've got 3 different entries on this page for privileges at the local manager. One of them is admin, one of them is factory reset, one of them is reinstall. The orange star in the last column indicates if this privilege has been inherited or not. So these two privileges, the admin role and the factory reset role, have been created locally on this specific local manager, whereas this last privilege was inherited from an inventory group or a parent to this local manager. And following this breadcrumb back, that permission or that privilege could be assigned at this highest level. Maybe it's at the SE demo environment. If I click on that link and look at the privileges, I'll see a number of different privileges. So here is the jritchie reinstall role. Now, if I click on that reinstall role, it only has one permission, which is called allow config reinstall. Now, I could put in here a specific deny statement like config update. That config update is a command within the admin role. If there's a deny within that user's privileges, it's going to override all of the allows. The allow, in this case, from the admin role. So that's how you can provide granular authentication and authorization, for that matter, within the local managers. There's another way, kind of a cool trick that we have where you can label devices. So I'm at a router level in this local manager, and I can click Edit, and I see that there's already a couple of labels in here, Test and Cisco. I want to call this Edge Router. So this is going to be an Edge Router. It's got a label called Edge Router. Now, back at the highest level inventory group, the SE demo environment, I can go back to Privileges, and then I can choose the resource and say I want anything labeled Edge Router to have a principal of Richie J. That's my second profile. And then I want that to have the admin role. Now, this is interesting because this is going to give me a different set of commands in this session that I have up on the screen now. I'll look back at both of these. So I'm in that port that I just labeled Edge Router. That label is only in the control center and the local manager database. It's not written on the managed device. So let's take a look here and see if that has synchronized to a heartbeat. So I'll hit question mark again. It hasn't synchronized yet. Going back and looking at this, it's here now. So the admin role for Edge Router, all right, now that the privilege has synchronized, let's go back to that port, hit question mark, and you'll see that this user, Richie J, now has many more privileges on this port. That's because I have labeled that device, that port, as an Edge Router and given permission to any device within the enterprise labeled Edge Router the same permission. So if I were to go over to port 1.2 and check my commands with the same over here, I'm still a guest on this port because this port hasn't been labeled and given permission to with the admin role. Now that's about it for Granular Auth. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, jritchie@uplogix.com.